Yo, I'm Bob. Into Marvel, happen to be totally blind since birth, talking about X-Men the Animated Series, Season 3, Episode 16, The Dark Phoenix Saga Part 3, The Dark Phoenix. It is episode 42 of the show overall, and it premiered on November 19th in 1994. So I did see this episode as it premiered, and my favorite parts of the episode were ones in which the X-Men were having to consider the unthinkable. Because the Dark Phoenix is not wanting to leave Jean's body. So you have Xavier being the leader of the X-Men. You know, he's got to be strong enough, brave enough to think about that quote unquote final decision. He's got to make a very difficult choice, or they feel they have to. Because if Dark Phoenix doesn't leave Jean, they might have to unalive her. And you've got Jean in various parts of the episode who tells Logan and Scott that they're going to have to do it because Dark Phoenix is too powerful, and Jean is not able to control the vastness of that power. And so I think some of my favorite fight scenes, I like all the fight scenes in this show, but I wish there were audio description tracks. You've got the very beginning where I think Dark Phoenix just blasts them from the inner circle club to, I'm guessing it's a pond nearby. And one of my favorite lines of the episode is uttered by Wolverine. He's like, "Ducks. I hate ducks." It's very random, but I mean, he did just pass a bunch of ducks because of the quacking, the audio cues I got there. And I always wondered when I was a kid, what the heck did ducks ever do to you, dude? Did you try to feed them bread? Did one of them bite you? You got a healing factor. Why don't you like ducks, man? Did you get chased by ducks? I would expect geese to chase Wolverine. Ducks seem somewhat nicer than geese. I have met a few nice geese, but one did bite me when I fed her bread once. But avian rant aside, you have that brief fight scene in the beginning of the episode, and Dark Phoenix is of course boasting about her powers and how basically the X-Men are nothing to her. And one of my favorite bits of dialogue was from Dark Phoenix when she's asking Cyclops, "Why do you care about this body?" And he's like, "Well, I love her." And Dark Phoenix, never really having felt emotions before, doesn't get the concept of love. She's just feeling a lot of the darker emotions. And she says your answer is unacceptable, and she kind of leaves after a bit. After showing just how powerful she is, blasting everyone helter skelter, and boasting about how powerful she is. I feel like she kind of gets a bit bored with the team because they don't really pose a threat to her. You've got Rogue trying to drain Dark Phoenix's energy, but she's not really having any luck with that. Gambit's trying his card tricks. Cyclops is trying energy blast, but I think he accidentally blasts Beast at one point. Sounded like that really hurt. Very, very convincing holler there by George Buza as Beast is hit by the optic blast. Wow. So I did see this, around 1994, the day of the premiere. So when Phoenix just randomly leaves and heads for space, I wasn't really sure what we were going to see, but when we got to see I guess their Shi'ar star mappers, they map the galaxy. They map the universe. They're bored. They'd rather be anywhere else but where they are. And then all of a sudden, Dark Phoenix just wipes out an entire star system. Um, I wonder if the system is inhabited in the comics. I just started reading the novelization of the Dark Phoenix adapted from the comics. I do believe it's more in line with the actual comic itself, so I can't wait to get there. Um, but when they headed back to the palace, and when they let Lalandra know what had happened, I mean, it doesn't take a sighted person. It definitely didn't back then to know that we were headed for a big throwdown between the X-Men and the Shi'ar. And so I was thinking we were in for one heck of a finale in terms of this miniseries. So you've got a bit of downtime with the X-Men because Dark Phoenix has vacated Earth for the time being, and they're trying to figure out how in the heck to stop her. But and, you know, this is where you have Xavier considering the unthinkable, and you have Cyclops, of course, being dead set against it. And then they realize, oh, well, the weakness of this being is the mind, because, you know, Beast thinks about how Wingard was controlling her, and, you know, he's ultimately trying to save Jean's life as well. So we get the mnemonic scrambler created, as he says, made to order. That's one of my favorite little devices in X-Men. I know it's just a headband, but I do like how Beast can kind of come up with little things on the fly like this when they need it. I'm sure they had certain bits of Shi'ar tech that he probably wove into the mnemonic scrambler. And I like that they did use what they learned from the Inner Circle to come up with a way to neutralize the Phoenix without ending Jean there. And of course they would, because, I mean, you know, the X-Men are the X-Men. That's kind of what they do, if they can. I like the psychic rapport between Cyclops and Jean. You know, he senses when she's back on Earth. And when I was a kid, seeing this episode for quite a few times, actually, I wasn't quite sure what we were seeing when she headed back to her parents' house. I thought she was kind of reliving a flashback as an adult in her own mind. I mean, of course, she was there at her parents' house in body, but they had apparently vacated the premises. I would imagine the X-Men probably let them know what was going on, and they beat feet out of there as fast as they could, because Jean is not in a very good place at the moment. And when she started, you know, calling to her cat and the cat hissed at her, yeah, I wasn't sure what we were looking at here, because there really isn't a lot of information as to, you know, visually what's going on. I know sometimes when people are, you know, having flashbacks on in animated series, the color might be a bit different, so I wasn't sure if that had happened. But no, this is completely in present day. I think what confused me was when she started sounding all childlike and saying, "Oh, Daddy's home," and of course it is. I would imagine no audio context clues, except I do believe the psychic beam noises that come from Xavier's head. It's I would imagine it's Xavier posing as her father, projecting some sort of psychic illusion, so Gambit can sneak up behind her, as stealthy as he is, and activate the mnemonic scrambler. So I'm not really sure why Jean decided to go all childlike here for a bit. I would imagine it's probably because of the strain the Phoenix is placing on her mind. But she really sounded a bit off here. Not that, you know, the voice acting was wrong or anything like that. I mean, it was a really great way to play this particular role in this particular scene, because I mean, yeah, she's back home, but you know, the way that she's calling out for Daddy, you know, where are you going, Daddy? Why are you leaving? That kind of stuff. I think that's what led me to believe that this part was something of a flashback to Jean. Not that we were seeing child Jean, but she was reliving something in her head. I don't think it's that now as an adult, since I've had a bit more of the puzzle pieces filled in for me. Not all of them, just from various fans as I've watched this episode. But yeah, you have Dark Phoenix getting wise to what they're doing. She breaks the mnemonic scrambler, and then we've got that mind battle where you have Xavier entering her mind. And even though he's repulsed at first by Dark Phoenix, he's trying to use his powers to bind her with his mind. then, you know, she makes him scream as he's want to do sometimes. And, you know, he has to enlist Jean's help. And of course, she's still in there because the Dark Phoenix hasn't melted the X-Men. I don't know what she's melted on screen, but they did talk about that before they went up against her. I think they were like, oh, well, Dark Phoenix hasn't melted us yet. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, what did she use her powers on? Probably certain non-living objects. Quoting a Sentinel there. But yeah, they do manage to bind her for now, as they say. And just when they think everything is hunky-dory, here comes the Shi'ar. And I remember wondering if that's the way this episode might end when I first saw it. And of course it is. You've got Lilandra and the Shi'ar showing up. And she is all business, all Empress here in this scene when she's like, hey, Jean Grey must perish. This has to be done. And Xavier is understandably shocked, but Lilandra is not backing down. And if you saw this when it premiered, you would have to wait a week to find out what the heck was going to happen. But I actually missed part 4 because it was, I do believe, Thanksgiving weekend when it aired. I think I'm going to have to go back and look that up for sure. But I do believe part 4 was actually airing during the weekend after Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do some, you know, calendar research, but I think it was. I remember buying Till Death Do Us parts 1 and 2 from Blockbuster Video, so I was actually, you know, enjoying a bit of Mr. Sinister as part 4 was airing, I think, and I missed it the first time around, so I had to wait even longer to figure out what the heck was going on in part 4. I did see it eventually, I think it would have been in early 95 maybe, but I did finally see part 4, the conclusion. So next time we're going to be talking about the fate of the Phoenix, that very conclusion. So be here for that, and Adanin Hala, and all that other Shi'ar challenge stuff. Not challenging anybody or anything. I just like the way that word sounds. Okay, yeah, this just in. Thanksgiving was November 24th in 1994. So I was in Memphis at the time. And yeah, I distinctly remember heading to Toys R Us and just going gaga over Tor the Shuttle Zord from Power Rangers that Saturday. So, I mean, I missed the episode. I went to Blockbuster and did buy some X-Men videos, though, because Till Death Do Us Part had just been released on home video, the only two-parter that we got from Season 2 at the time. So, yeah, that's why I had missed Part 4, because I was just kind of hanging out with family, and I replaced the newest X-Men episodes for one of my favorites that I did get to see as it was airing that previous summer. So yeah, that's why I missed that episode. It's kind of crazy, but you know, it was the holidays, so I feel like I have a pretty good reason for kind of putting it aside for the time being. I figured reruns were going to be upon us around the holidays anyway. I give this one, though, I give part 3 a 10 out of 10. I really had a blast watching this one, and I cannot wait to get into Fate of the Phoenix. That is one of my favorite episodes. I'm going to have to do a bit of research on how many of the Empress's Guard that we see, because not all of them speak. Some who do don't tell us their names, so that's going to be fun to try and read up on, you know, cobble together bits of information here and there as I go about reviewing that episode. Till next time, guys.